Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Amari Kalia. Today we're going to talk about why having low standards will keep you stuck in life. A lot of people think that progressing in life has all to do with their goals and luck and following a strict routine and being disciplined. Yes, those things matter, but something that people don't think about is the importance of having standards for your life. Standards for how you carry yourself, how you allow other people to treat you, how you move when you're at work, in your relationships, when it comes to your health. You have to have a strong foundation or standards for how you want to live your life, because if not, you will just be easily influenced. You will be easy to be manipulated, easy to be taken off of your routine, off your schedule, and off track of what type of life you want to live. So we're just kind of going to go over why having low standards will keep you stuck and go over what that looks like. One of my favorite quotes is stand for something or fall for anything. I've talked about that quote in multiple videos, but basically what that means is if you don't have a foundation or standards for yourself and how you want to operate in life, you will fall for anything in this world. You mainly see this with relationships and when it comes to your health. If you don't have any boundaries, you will be more likely to fall for things that really are not serving you and really won't allow you to move forward in life. So we're going to talk about what is high standards. If you look up what it means to have high standards, it says setting a rigorous bar for quality, performance, or behavior, demanding excellence rather than settling for mediocrity. It means having high, often strict requirements or expectations for oneself, others, or work, which are usually above average. Key aspects include being detail-oriented, principled, and defining specific goals for success. I can remember when I was in middle school and high school, and we would make fun of or talk about those girls who were high maintenance and stuck up and having high standards. And first of all, we were kids. We didn't know what we were talking about. We were being ignorant unknowingly, and we didn't really know what it meant to have high standards or be high maintenance. We thought it was a bad thing. But as I've healed and as I've really paid attention to how I live my life, from the time I was in high school up until now, I realized that having high standards is the way to living a great life. When you have low standards for yourself, when you don't have anything that you stand on or stand for, your life will be a huge reflection of that. So having high standards is about not settling for mediocrity. You don't want to be average. You don't want to live the life that maybe your parents live, maybe the people around you are living. You see things that don't really resonate with you, that don't align with you. You have a strong foundation for how you live your life. You have barriers or boundaries that you won't go under. You have boundaries for yourself and your relationships, and you just live a higher quality of life. And that's what it's all about. You want to live a quality of life that is worth living. You want to be at peace. You want to have true joy. You want to see the fruits of your labor. And the only way that can happen is if you have standards for your life. Like I said, when you have low standards, you live a lower quality of life. You accept disrespect from others and you disrespect yourself, and you also lose self-trust. When you don't have standards, you don't really stick to those goals or those boundaries that you have for yourself, which is inherently reducing your ability to trust yourself. You don't reach any goals or make any progress, which is why I said it keeps you stuck. You may take 2 steps forward, but because you're not sticking to those standards, you take 5 steps back. You deal with more chaos. This is a huge one, like I said, when it comes to dealing with disrespect in relationships. You mainly see this a lot with women and men, and even vice versa when men are dealing with certain women. But we're going to stick to women dealing with men in this specific example. When you have low standards as a woman, you kind of accept the bare minimum from relationships. So you may accept men who don't plan dates, who don't get the door for you, who don't pull your seat out for you. And even though those are small things, they are very important. You want men who are seeing themselves at a high level and also see you at a high level. You expect more from them, so you want them to be gentlemen, you want them to be respectful. You don't want to date men who have no respect for women, because then he won't have respect for you, so he may not reach certain expectations that you may have when it comes to how you want to be treated, which means you will probably deal with more chaos, drama, baby mama drama, any type of drama that comes with that. You will be more likely to deal with it. You will struggle with dealing with problems. You will be easily intimidated, let down, and disappointed when you don't have standards, because standards to me equals boundaries. When you don't have boundaries with people in your relationships, you will be easily let down when people aren't, meeting certain expectations, or even like when it comes to people pleasing. When you don't have boundaries when it comes to giving and showing up for people, you will be more likely to people please, and that is something that I definitely experience, which is something that I will touch on. And then you suffer consequences on things that you did not expect. What I mean by that, for example, if you don't have standards for your health, you will be eating whatever you want. You won't be exercising or moving your body. You don't drink a lot of water. You may drink a lot of alcohol. And then guess what? A few years down the line, you will gain weight. You will maybe develop some type of disease from drinking too much alcohol. Once you hit your 40s and 50s, maybe sooner, depending on your body type, you won't be as mobile. You won't be as strong. You won't be able to lift things. You will not be flexible. You'll be very tight. Those are consequences that you don't really account for in the beginning. But then once they show up, you realize, dang, like I've been doing this all wrong. I've just been out here willy-nilly. I haven't had any standards for myself. And that's when you start to make changes. So when you have lower standards, you just live a lower quality of life. You deal with more drama, more chaos. You suffer consequences that you didn't expect to suffer. You deal with people who also don't have boundaries, self-respect, or any type of standards. And you just struggle with dealing with people and with problems. So you don't want to have low standards in life, because you will live a lower quality of life. So I'm gonna give you guys some personal examples, because I wouldn't be able to talk about this if I didn't experience it for myself. I didn't have standards when it came to my health and what I put into my body. So guess what? I gained weight. When I was in high school, I ate whatever I wanted. I was smaller and petite, so I didn't think that it really mattered. Guess what? That weight came so quickly as soon as I went to college, my first year of college. Really before that, because I started my fitness journey my senior year of high school. I just started to dabble in it a little bit. Once I went to college, I saw that it was a huge problem, because I gained my freshman 15 on top of what I had already gained. And I realized, dang, like I don't have any standards for what I'm eating. I'm eating all these processed foods. I'm eating out all the time. I'm eating a lot of bread, a lot of simple carbs. I'm not eating things that are healthy for me. So instead of, sweet potatoes, I'm eating these fried potatoes. Instead of fruits, I'm eating a lot of, fresh fruits. I'm eating a lot of fruits that are in the packages with a lot of syrup. So I realized that I didn't have any standards for my health and for what I put into my body. So the consequence was I gained weight. I didn't know what it meant to have standards when it came to friends. So when I went to college, I dealt with chaos. I'm not really somebody who ever really had a lot of group of friends, but when I went to college, I did kind of dabble into having big friend groups. And listen, I learned that you have to be very intentional with people that you have around you. When you hear people talk about using other friends, 9 times out of 10, she's probably talking about using you in a different way. So you got to be very intentional and just like vigilant about the people that you have in your circle. And that's something that I learned. I have to have standards for the people that I have in my life, or else I'm going to deal with chaos, which I dealt with. When it came to my family, I didn't have a lot of standards when it came to people pleasing, so I would accept the bare minimum. And I also just dealt with people using me. I dealt with that when it came to very close family members, parents to a degree, my siblings, and also cousins. I didn't have any standards for what I was more say like boundaries. I didn't have strong boundaries, which is in correlation to having standards. So I would give and not receive anything. Not that I wanted to receive anything, but just I knew dealing with certain people that if I needed something, I could not call them, because they would tell me like, hey, like, yes, I could ask you. I literally had a family member tell me, yes, I should be able to come stay at your place, but no, you can't come stay at mine. And I'm like, dang, that is crazy. So now I have standards when it comes to that. But before I did not, and I would accept the bare minimum out of the sake of, this is my family. it is what it is. I have to be there for them at all times. But that quickly changed once I started my healing journey and realizing that I was a people pleaser. And then I didn't have standards when it came to my finances. So I was never able to reach certain goals, or when I did, I would go back into a cycle of going back. And so like I would take 2 steps forward and take 5 steps back. So I may save a certain amount of money, but then I would find a way to spend it and sabotage myself. I would always quit jobs without having anything lined up or without having any cushion money. And then I was also living paycheck to paycheck, so I didn't have any money saved up because I didn't have any standards for my finances. I'm also going to do a separate video that talks about my journey with like being unstable and living on this hamster wheel of instability, and how I came to realization that I was living in a constant cycle of that. But for the sake of this video, the point is I didn't have any standards for myself when it came to finances. I've always been very intentional in the sense of like paying attention to it, but I lacked those standards or boundaries for myself where I didn't allow myself to go back into old patterns or old circumstances. And so that is something that I really had to change within the past 6 months, and my life has really changed. So for me, I lacked standards when it came to my finances, when it came to my family, when it came to knowing how to pick out friends, and when it came to my health. So when did this all change? It all started when I started my healing journey my last couple of years in college, and when I started to work out. When I wanted to lose weight, I realized that I had to go to the gym consistently. I realized that I had to have standards for what goes inside of my body. And I say this because we live in a world now that normalizes, eating out, convenience. We don't really prioritize health from an early age. We wait until health problems happen. And so when I would go around my family, once I started my healing journey, they would make jokes, and they still do, crack jokes about, me meal prepping and, oh, she's the exercise guru or professional trainer, make little jokes like that because they don't have standards for their life when it comes to that. And so for me, I realized it's very important that you stand on these standards and that you continue to live by them, because you are probably going to be the only person in your circle who does have standards for their health. And for me personally, I want to be a leader of my life. I want to be a leader for other people. So I realized that it's something that I'm going to have to have standards for. And then I also realized that it's so easy to get knocked off track. It's so easy to get out of that routine. And so for me, it had to become standard. So I just went on vacation. I enjoyed myself. I ate burgers, fries, dessert, all the things. But today's Monday. I got on my gym outfit. I'm about to go to the gym. I worked out on vacation too, but I was eating whatever I wanted. I meal prepped last night for breakfast. I'm going to go back to my scheduled program of what I eat for breakfast. I got my warm lemon water right here that I drink every morning. So it's important to have standards because it will get you back into your routine, get you back on track, and get you back into alignment with what actually makes sense for your life and what will help you to reach your goals or just allow you to live a higher quality of life. I knew that I had standards with certain things once I started to come about this whole standards and boundaries type of thing. I realized that I did have them. It was just unconscious, and I realized that I needed to implement them more in other areas. So, for instance, with my health and my wellness, I realized okay, this area of my life, I don't have standards. I need to implement more. When I realized that I was a people pleaser, I'm okay, I need to have some stronger boundaries. I need a strong foundation for what I will deal with and what I won't deal with. And then I'm going to go into some of those areas where I realized I did have standards. So for me, I was somebody, I never smoked any type of substance because I knew that it led to health issues and that it would become an unhealthy vice. So I tried it once, I think my sophomore or junior year of high school. Never did it again. So I just say that I've never done it because it didn't count. I tried it, puff, didn't work out, that was it. I never tried it again. I knew even before then that that is not something that I want to associate with. I just don't think it's attractive as women, but also there is no benefit of it. To me, I see more of the negative effects of it than the so-called positive good benefits of it. So for me, it's not something that I ever just indulged in. Something that I didn't deal with was toxic men. I was the blocking queen. When I was in high school, whenever dudes would be on the BS, when they were childish, playing games, or when they didn't want to move forward with me, when I didn't want to do certain things, cool, I blocked them. Like, I had a very low tolerance when it came to men. Of course, being young, there were a couple situations that I kind of let go over my head, but being raised by my dad, I was able to see through a lot of things, and I just knew like there were certain things that I didn't want to deal with. So I had high standards when it came to dealing with men. Another thing, I wasn't allowed to go out and party in club. Like, when I was in high school, parties were a thing. It was very popular. That's what everybody did. My dad, he didn't let me do all that. So I never cared. Like, I got to a point where I didn't care. I didn't see the fun in it. And now as an adult, I just feel like it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of your energy. I like to have fun, but going to the club is not my way of doing that. And that's just a standard that I have for my life. And it's something that has been a standard for my life pretty much since I was a kid. When I was in college, I went to a few parties, but I was not the person that was going to every single party. I didn't really start going to parties until my senior year when I joined a sorority. And even then, I think I did it for about 6 months. My second half of my senior year, did not go to any parties because it was a waste of time. It was too much chaos, too much drama. I wasn't dealing with it. And then I never was someone who spent a lot of money on materialistic things, and I'm still not that person. I like nice things. I like my apartment to look nice. I like to look nice. I like to keep my hair done, keep my nails done, things of that nature. But I'm not a materialistic person. For my trip I just went on, I didn't buy any clothes for my trip. I wore the exact same clothes I wore on my last trip on our honeymoon in August, and we took the trip in February. I don't care. I value money at this point in my life. I have goals. I have plans for how I want to live, what I want my work life to look like. That will only happen if I be intentional today, not when I'm in my 30s. So being materialistic is just not something that I associate with. I'm someone who is very, frugal with their money. I think that's the word. I'm intentional. I care a lot about paying off debt, saving, investing, things of that nature. So now I do have standards for my finances. So I realized that I had standards in certain areas of my life, but that I needed to implement more standards in other areas of my life if I really wanted to get out of being stuck, out of a rut, out of not being consistent, and just not being able to see any progress or move forward in my life. So if you want to move the needle in your life, you need to become aware of the habits and the patterns that are not serving you or not in alignment with the highest version of you. You must see yourself as a king or queen with high standards who doesn't allow themselves to indulge in things that are not serving them on a higher level. I'm all about becoming the highest version of yourself, being a leader of your life. Being a leader means that you have standards and you have boundaries and you have strong self-respect, and you have to become aware of those areas of your life that don't have standards or that need higher standards. So if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. You will be more likely to be influenced. You will be more likely to not make your own decisions, and you just want to be a leader of your life. So you must recognize what those things are that don't have as high standards or areas of your life that don't have boundaries. Look at your relationships. What are you allowing when it comes to how people are talking to you, how people are treating you, and that can be family members, your relationship. I had to realize for myself, my husband, he realized like, okay, this girl is kind of talking to me crazy. She got a bad attitude. I need to let her know that that's not something that I want to accept. And then I had to look internal like, okay, these are things that I need to work on because I know that I wouldn't want someone to talk to me or treat me that way. So do that for yourself as well. Recognize those areas of your life that you no longer want to accept and areas of your life that you want higher standards for. When it comes to your finances, you need to be intentional about that. When it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your career and your work life, what type of life do you want to live? What quality of life do you want for yourself? And then you take inventory as to what your boundaries and current standards are, and then you will raise your standards accordingly. You can only make changes if you become aware of where you are at this current moment. Recognize and realize that where you are right now are based on your current standards. So if you don't like it, if you want to move forward or get out of a rut or stop being stuck, you need to recognize it and then raise your standards. So let me know in the comments some areas of your life that where you're going to raise your standards, have stronger boundaries, and have more respect for yourself. And then I hope you guys enjoy this video. Stay tuned, because in my next video, I'm going to share specifically the areas of my life that have high standards and what those standards are. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.